So as my topic is IELD, so I will talk how IELD has been used. It was used for resection of subarticular herniation of L4 and L5S1, so with lateral stenosis. So any other things were contraindicated, just like there is instability, previous posterior surgery, small canal diameters, excessive facetal growth, because when you're using a 25-degree scope, you try to drill too much of the facet, so you end up with iatrogenic facetal injury. So these were the things where initially it was only resection for L5S1, L4, L5, but as I told you, once stenoscope has started, it has changed. So I still feel using of a Wilson frame is a magical boon. Unnecessary, there is a controversy among the spinal surgeons saying that sometimes your natural lordosis is not maintained, you end up with less decompression. But I feel once the end of flavum is seen, there is no compression. So you don't need to end up drilling unnecessary bone. I feel Wilson frame is good enough. You have radiolucent Wilson's frame where you can open up the interlaminar window. I prefer doing my technique in most of the cases in general anesthesia, because immediately I can check the post-operative neurological effect. Spinal or epidural sometimes I don't feel, but people are doing it under sensory analgesia, but I don't do it. So this is the key point which you should remember. This is a take-home key point. So it's this small maneuver will make your interlaminar surgery very, very, very easy. I'm not talking about higher lumbar levels. In lower lumbar levels, you can laser. Marker. So you know that is because of the angulation of the spinous process in L5S1 and L4 L5. What you just need to do happens is, when you take a true AP view, the spinous process comes in the interlaminar window is little like this, slanty up. So what happens is, you take a true AP view, the spinous process hinders your block. So just you need to, some people say just dock over it and make it cranially. That is too difficult for it. What you need to do is just open up the interlaminar window. Open up the interlaminar window is nothing but just give a rostrocaudal angulation of 10 to 15 degrees, so that the base of the spinous process is less than 1/3 in the interlaminar window. This is a key point. The interlaminar window, okay. See this base of the spinous process, here you see it is almost in the interlaminar window. So here I am not moving the patient, I am not pushing the patient or anything. Just a tilt of caudal tilt, rostrocaudal total tilt. You see the spinous process is gone up. It doesn't mean it is gone up. We have made the interlaminar window more visualized. This is the main thing why initially the docking is a trouble. You should see the base of the spinous process should be less than 1/3 in the interlaminar window. Then you can clearly see the slopes. So you can see the cranial slope. So this is spinal lamina junction, this is a laminofacial junction. So any good, this area or this area is a very good bony landmark for docking. Why it is a good docking bony landmark is because you can't push the dilator inside the bone. So you are going to bypass almost 80% of all the anatomical structures, like the supraspinatus, musculature, fascia. If it is a 100 kilos or a 200 kilos patient, one strong bone, and in the lateral you see it is the dilator is over the cranial ridge or the laminar ridge, the high arch, or we call it namaste sign, or that you can see the facet in the lamina arch. So you just put on it, there starts your work. So just a small caudal tilt will make your interlaminar surgery or stenoscope surgery very easy. Just make it all from the spinal laminar junction to the laminofacial junction. It is all a good docking point. For this green line is all part is a good docking point. There is no problem, because here it's not a fixed surgery. It is more of a mobile surgery. Just put the dilator, scrape out the muscles in and around, walk over the C, means the spinal laminar and the laminofacial area. delineate the musculature, final musculature, just do the RF ablation, you can clearly see the bony window in the interlaminar space. Once you see the interlaminar space, remove the musculature, you are going to see the yellow ligament open. As you have seen, you can open the yellow ligament with a punch or the little facetectomy, you can use a burr or a Carrison punch. Then see the flavum, you can use a annular cutter or a Carrison punch, open it up, see the neural structures, same working sleeve, use it to retract the neural structures, but it has given some amount of anesthesia because it is little big working channel. Now you have seen, as my friend was telling about, using of a nerve root retractor, which is very well small enough to pass instruments. You can use it inside, push the neural structures and do the discectomy. So retraction of the neural elements, you can rotate the working angle 180 degrees. So intraoperative, in any interlaminar surgery, the main complication is dural injuries and intraoperative bleeding control. I have 10-point guidelines for intraoperative bleeding control. I will share it to you. So just people feel using of NTG tachycardia will cause increased venous soothe. So if you are using a dexmedetomidine infusion, if you maintain the heart rate less, the venous ooze is very less, adrenaline, and not the mean pressure is about 60. I think it's very much clear that there is no much of bleeding. So we'll also talk about paramedian approach or a transforaminal approach for a foraminal extraforaminal surgeries. So initially it was a problem to deal with interlaminar surgery for foraminal stenosis or foraminal disc herniations or extraforaminal disc herniation. There is no something called extraforaminal stenosis. So this was a big problem. So what we started doing is we were using the same scope, same instruments, just take a little lateral entry, walk over the transverse process into the SAP, drill the SAP and go inside. So I will tell you this approach is way safer than transforaminal surgery. It may be mitigating for you, but transforaminal surgery, since it's a awake surgery, the dilator is passed into the foramen and you are worried about exiting root because that's how you manage it by keeping the patient awake. But in para-PSLD, we are parallel to the root, not bang on the root. So parallel to the root, the chance of exiting the root injury is negligible or zero. In transforaminal surgery, it is done under local, so it looks safer. But para-PSLD is far more safer. The same thing, what they are reaming, we will do it drilling under visualization. Remove the leftover flavum over the below the SAP. Just remove it. See the exiting root from caudal to the cranial aspect. Means which is starting from the up foramen to the down. Means up above the DRG to down. You both can be clearly visualized. So extraforaminal herniations and foraminal stenosis can be very much dealt. So you can do a partial ventral facetectomy just like your transforaminal approach where you use remus or burr. Same thing we are going to do. Go into the space and do the discectomy. So this is how you are going to see the exiting nerve root full. So only problem with this approach is you may encounter some foraminal vasculature, foraminal vessels. So meticulous bleeding control is the initial key. Until you see the bony landmarks, you need to do good ablation and delineate the bony structures. Then usually it's not a problem. So this is what I want to tell. In interlaminar scope, you see this image. This gives you a very good so you can see this is the cranial and the caudal tilt of the scope. How much can it allow in the interlaminar window? And you can see ipsilateral you can't go much because the facet will hinder you. But contralateral, it is very comfortable. If you want to do ipsilateral, you need to knock the facet much off. So this is the two images you should remember forever when you are trying to do. You feel ipsilaterally you are able to bend the scope more than 15-20 degrees. It implies you have destroyed the facet. Then itself you should understand that you are ending up with more medial facetectomy. So this is what is normal interlaminar approach. Start on the cranial lamina, drill the lamina, partial medial facetectomy, remove the cranial flavum, do the contralateral flavectomy and bilateral root decompression. And the instrument is less. So these are the steps. Start the lamina window and all the routine steps. These are the few cases of my patients. Thank you.